F-22A Raptor, course for rejuvenation. The F-22 Raptor fighter is undoubtedly one of the brightest legends in the history of world aviation. The world's first fifth-generation fighter, the world's first stealth aircraft, the world's first combat aircraft flying at supersonic without an afterburner. Its technical characteristics were so high that even now, 10 years after the cessation of its production, no country in the world could duplicate them in full. But the sky's the limit. Recently, it became known that the world's best fighters will undergo modernization. Let's see how they want to make the Raptor even more formidable and deadly to enemies. The F-22 Raptor began entering service with the U.S. Army in 1997. A total of 195 vehicles were produced, of which 187 were in production. Distinctive features of these machines are cruising supersonic speed, super maneuverability, and stealth technology. It's no exaggeration to say that everything in this fighter, from the tip of the nose to the trailing edge of the tail plumage, is packed with the latest technology. This is an active phased array radar capable of detecting a target with an effective scattering area of 1 square meter at a distance of 200 to 240 kilometers. Engines capable of long-duration, no-force supersonic flight and with variable thrust vector, a special coating of the glider, and its special forms to reduce the probability of detection by enemy locators, a special form of nozzles, engines to reduce infrared radiation, and much more. The resulting machine was so innovative, decades ahead of its time, that the U.S. Congress banned exports to any third countries, including NATO allies. An exception was made only for its staunchest ally in the Middle East, Israel. And that only in 2020. The U.S. has approved the sale of about 50 F-22 Raptor units to that state for about $10.4 billion. Making this flying marvel was super difficult. That's why the designers gave up multifunctionality. They will return to it when they create the F-35 Lightning II using the experience gained during the design of the F-22. True, the Lightning turned out, frankly, not very well. But back to our Raptor. Originally, it was an air superiority plane. For that purpose, it was armed with 6 medium-range AIM-120C AMRAAM missiles and 2 short-range AIM-9M Sidewinder missiles. Well, also a 20mm M61A2 Vulcan cannon. The Raptor could only use GBU-32 Joint Direct Attack munition to defeat ground targets. In other words, while the F-22 was armed to the teeth against air targets, against ground targets it was a rather mediocre machine. A well-defended target, for example, cannot be destroyed by bombs. You need air-to-surface missiles. There were other disadvantages. For example, the aircraft has no helmet-mounted target designation and indication system integrated into the pilot's helmet, as in the F-35, JHMCS guidance technology. JHMCS helmet-mounted system allows the pilot to receive necessary information about ground and air targets and give target designation commands to air-to-air missiles by turning the head toward the target in the line of sight without using manual controls and without changing the fighter's flight direction. Another significant disadvantage is the lack of IRST sensors, infrared search and tracking sensors. Why is this so important? Because the F-22 has radar, which, as we said, will see a target with an EPR of 1 square meter at a distance of 200 to 240 kilometers. The Russian Su-35 main battle fighter has an EPR of 0.7 square meters. That is, it'll be visible on the Raptor radar at a distance of 140 to 160 kilometers. At the same time, remaining invisible to the Russian pilot. No, the F-22 itself will indeed be invisible to the radar of the Russian dryer, but it'll give itself away with the working radar. And infrared sensors work in passive mode, i.e. they do not emit anything, so they don't deceive the plane. When designing the F-22, the designers were well aware of this and incorporated these sensors into the design. But then politics intervened. The plane was already extremely expensive. A similar piece of solid gold was cheaper. So the officials insisted that this system should not be installed on F-22. We don't know how much this decision reduced the cost. In fact, according to the General Accounting Office of the USA, as of the end of 2010, the full price of one F-22 aircraft Taking into account the cost of the development program reached $411.7 million. But this reduced the combat effectiveness of the aircraft significantly. And now, finally, it's decided to correct these deficiencies. On November 5, 2021, the U.S. Air Force announced that it signed a $10.9 billion contract with Lockheed Martin to maintain and upgrade the F-22 Raptor fighter jets. The undisclosed agreement is to be implemented under the F-22 Program Office's Advanced Raptor Enhancement and Sustainment Program. The work will be carried out in Fort Worth, Texas. It's stated that this upgrade will allow the aircraft to remain in service until the 2060s, when they'll finally be superseded by the sixth-generation aircraft. Some of our viewers may have a question about the amount of the program, more than $10 billion. For example, the F-16s and F-15s have been upgraded several times, such as being equipped with JHMCS guidance technology, but these upgrades have not resulted in such huge sums. But the F-22 Raptor is unique. First of all, this aircraft was finally discontinued more than 10 years ago, in 2011. That's why it's not possible to change anything drastically in the modernization process. Secondly, an airplane with a low EPR is very difficult to modernize at all. In a conventional aircraft, the same infrared sensors can simply be installed in a container outside the cladding. The F-22 cannot do this. It would impair its invisibility. And yet, Lockheed Martin is taking on the daunting task. The modernization will consist of two stages. Firstly, the fighter will have its equipment upgraded, and then the software. The upgrade programs are called Baseline 3.2B and Update 6. Details of these programs are not disclosed. Experts believe that the aircraft will finally be integrated with air-to-surface missiles, such as AIM-120C JASSM, a development of the same Lockheed Martin and which is armed with the F-35. Also, the outdated AIM-9M and AIM-120C air-to-air missiles will be replaced by the newer AIM-9X and AIM-120D. Also, pilots will receive helmets like F-35 pilots with the aforementioned JHMCS technology. There's also information that the airborne radar will be replaced with the APG-81 radar used by the F-35 Lightning II. Well, what will be the result, we learn? Alas, only in at least a couple of years. The contract with Lockheed Martin to modernize the Raptor is for 10 years. It must be completed by October 31, 2031. By that time, all 186 production vehicles must be upgraded. Recall that one aircraft crashed in Florida on May 15, 2020. The U.S. Air Force predicts that in the mid-2030s, the replacement of F-22 with the new generation fighters developed under the NGAD, Next Generation Air Dominance program, should begin. The fighters designed and built by Lockheed Martin will be, on average, 40 years old. But as we said, the legend of world aviation would serve until the early 60s. At one time, there were voices in the U.S. that the F-22 project was a dead end. As they say, the plane turned out to be very expensive and not multi-purpose. But the practice of its application showed that it's quite a successful combat vehicle. As a result, it was decided to keep them, but subjected to modernization. And it's a very rational approach. What do you think about this unique aircraft and about the plans to extend its life? Write about it in the comments below. Please like the video so more people can see it, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel as we have many more interesting videos about modern weapons.